After failing the college entrance exam, Soo Han-yu spent 40 years as Shin Lin's devoted wife. She served her mother-in-law, raised the Shin siblings, cared for her children, and traded her worn-out body for what others saw as a perfect family. Yet Shin Lin's dying words were that she was not even allowed to attend his funeral, for fear she would disturb his journey to the afterlife. Half of Shin Lin's estate went to his children, and the other half to the first love he had pined for half his life. All he left Soo Han-yu was a brief letter. That admission letter that was taken from you, I've repaid it with these 40 years. It turned out that back then, to fulfill his first love's dream of attending university, he had taken Soo Han-yu's admission letter, ruining her life. Soo Han-yu collapsed in despair, crying and demanding to know why, only to be cast aside by her own children. You only got that admission letter by sheer luck. How could you compare to Aunt Lin's abilities? Besides, Dad and Aunt Lin loved each other for 40 years without being together. He already gave you plenty of dignity. If you embarrass Aunt Lin again, don't blame us for sending you to the countryside to fend for yourself. Soo Han-yu was literally angered to death, and when she opened her eyes again, she was back in the year of the college entrance exam. At that moment, the admission letter was still on its way, and Soo Han-yu's life was just beginning. In late autumn of 2018, the solemn funeral hall was filled with memorial flowers. The crowd comforted the woman wearing a white mourning flower and full funeral attire, while also silently paying tribute to the youngest chief in the portrait. Suddenly, a hoarse, furious voice came from outside the door. I am the woman who was married to Shin Lin for 40 years. Why won't you let me attend the funeral? Soo Han-yu pushed past the guards, and when she burst into the funeral hall and saw the woman at the center, she froze in place. Lin Yu, why are you here? This woman, who had monopolized her husband for 40 years, why did she have to take even the last sliver of place that belonged to Soo Han-yu after his death? Before Lin Yu could speak, Shin Tsong and Shin Yu rushed out together and shoved Soo Han-yu aside. Mom, haven't you caused enough trouble? This was Dad's dying wish. You've pestered Dad your whole life. Can't you even let him rest in peace? Soo Han-yu stood frozen, and the lawyer nearby sighed before speaking up. Mrs. Shin, this is indeed the chief's dying wish. He stated personally that after his death, half of his estate would go to Miss Lin Yu, half to his children, and that he did not wish for you to attend his funeral. The lawyer's words struck Soo Han-yu's mind like a thunderbolt. Her breathing grew rapid, and she grabbed the lawyer's hand. Impossible. I married Shin Lin for 40 years, served his mother, raised his siblings, and cared for his children. What have I done wrong? He wouldn't do this to me. The lawyer, unable to bear it, pulled out an envelope and said, this is the only thing the chief left for you. Soo Han-yu snatched it, but when she opened it, there was only a single line. That admission letter that was taken from you, I've repaid it with these 40 years. The familiar handwriting hit Soo Han-yu like a blow to the head. She felt dizzy, and even breathing became a struggle. 40 years ago, precisely because that admission letter was missing, she believed she had failed the exam and was forced to marry Shin Lin. Over the years, Lin Yu had flaunted her superiority, her children had scorned her lack of education, and even strangers had used it to mock her freely. All that grievance and injustice, she could have been spared it all. Hatred surged in her heart, and she couldn't hold back as she lunged at Lin Yu, only to be shoved back by Shin Tsong and Shin Yu, who had been on guard. You're still protecting her. Do you know it was she who stole my admission letter back then? Before Soo Han-yu could finish, Shin Tsong cut her off directly. It was just an admission letter. Wasn't being the chief's wife for all these years enough for you? Dad and Aunt Lin are truly made for each other. It's because you butted in that they've been kept apart all these years. If you keep making a scene, watch out, we'll send you to the countryside and leave you to fend for yourself. A sharp pain pierced her heart like a sword, unbearable and agonizing. Soo Han-yu clutched her chest and collapsed to the ground. The people around her cried out in shock, but through the gaps in the crowd, she saw her own son and daughter softly comforting the frightened Lin Yu, paying no attention at all to their biological mother's plight. A suffocating pain swept over her, and in the moment before she was literally angered to death, Soo Han-yu shed tears of resentment and regret. If she were given another chance, She would guard her admission letter with her life and let no one take away the new life that belonged to her. The bitter taste of pain slowly faded, and after what felt like an eternity, a blinding light roused Soo Han-yu fully awake. Her heart was pounding violently in her chest. Before she could gather her thoughts, a familiar voice sounded in her ears. Han-yu, Ye isn't feeling well. Do this task for her this time. Soo Han-yu instinctively raised her head, and after seeing the young Shenlin, she immediately looked down at her own hands. They were thin and slender, still caked with dirt, but free of the calluses and scars that years of household labor had once left behind. The village loudspeaker happened to broadcast the time. December 7th, 1978, she truly had been given another chance. Sent back 40 years to the moment before her admission letter was taken away. The dullness in her eyes was instantly flooded with light. Seeing that Soo Han-yu remained unresponsive for a long time, Shenlin reached out to grab her, but she instinctively slapped his hand away. The grievances of her past life were etched deep in her heart, and her hatred made her reply without a second thought. What does Lin Yu being unwell have to do with me? Did I make her sick? If you're so worried, then you go do the task for her. Stop bossing me around here. Shenlin stood frozen in place. This was the first time Soo Han-yu had ever rejected him, and vaguely, it felt as though something was about to slip away. After dropping those words, Soo Han-yu turned to leave but was directly blocked by Shenlin. Soo Han-yu. Before Shenlin could finish, Soo Han-yu shouted loudly, "Help! Someone's harassing me!" Panic struck Shenlin, and he quickly reached out to cover Soo Han-yu's mouth, only to have her bite his hand hard. The villagers who rushed over immediately struck Shenlin with a stick. Taking the chance, Soo Han-yu dodged away from Shenlin and ran behind Aunt Wang. It was only then that everyone finally got a clear look at the two. Han-yu, Shaolin, what are you two doing here? Soo Han-yu struck first, grabbing Aunt Wang's hand and speaking with grievance. Aunt Wang, Shenlin said Lin Yu is in poor health and forced me to do Lin Yu's work. When I refused, he tried to harass me to force me. As she spoke, Soo Han-yu lowered her head and sobbed, putting on a look as if she was about to cry. Lin Yu, who had been watching the drama from the crowd, immediately panicked and said urgently, Soo Han-yu, what nonsense are you talking about? How dare you say the work you did before wasn't done by me? Soo Han-yu raised her head and directly pressed the question first. Lin Yu was momentarily at a loss for words. At this time, Lin Yu was not yet the highly praised university professor, but merely a sent-down educated youth. A sent-down youth who pretended to be delicate and refused to work. If reported, her chances of returning to the city would slip even further away. Shenlin hadn't expected Soo Han-yu to expose all these matters directly, and he glared at her fiercely. Soo Han-yu, what are you babbling about? You offered to help on your own, and now you want to smear Comrade Lin's reputation. Hearing this, Soo Han-yu found it even more ironic. I offered to help. How come I never helped before? But the moment you came back, I started helping. Isn't it because you forced me? If you care about Lin Yu, fine. Cancel our engagement, and you can care about whoever you want. Seeing the two rendered speechless, Soo Han-yu felt nothing but immense satisfaction. In her past life, they had ruined her life. In this one, she would never repeat that mistake. Best to just settle this engagement once and for all. Unexpectedly, at that very moment, a stern scolding voice rang out. You worthless brat, what are you saying? Everyone turned to look and found that it was Soo Han-yu's father and mother arriving together. Seeing Soo's father, Shenlin immediately regained his confidence, and his expression visibly relaxed considerably. Uncle Soo. Soo's father nodded at Shenlin, then looked at Soo Han-yu with a stern face. Shaolin is a soldier. Do you know how serious a crime it is to falsely accuse him of harassment? An educated youth Lin, her good reputation has been ruined by you. I think all your book learning has gone to the dogs. Now get back home with me. Seeing that Soo's father and Soo's mother had both arrived, the crowd no longer wished to meddle in their family affairs and made excuses to leave one by one. Soo Han-yu wanted to say something, but meeting Soo's mother's pleading gaze, she ultimately fell silent. As soon as the crowd dispersed, Su's father suddenly slapped Su Hanyu hard across the face. Kneel down. Old Su. What are you doing? Su's mother quickly stepped forward to shield her daughter, unable to hold back her anger. Shenlin and Lin Yu hadn't expected Su's father to resort to violence either, and shock was written on both their faces. What am I doing? Su's father pointed at Su Hanyu and scolded. Why don't you listen to what she said? In this day and age, who would say their own fiancé harassed them? Does she still want to get married after this? I won't marry. When it came to marrying Shenlin, Su Hanyu's reaction immediately became intense. It was agreed that as long as I got into college, I wouldn't have to marry Shenlin. The college entrance exam just ended, and the admission letters haven't even come out yet. What makes you so sure I didn't make it? Outrageous. Su's father's blood rushed to his head, and he moved to strike her again, but Su's mother quickly reached out to stop him. Shenlin frowned. Although he also felt that Su Hanyu's disobedience deserved a lesson, the slap just now was probably enough. Any more might make her resent him. With that in mind, he spoke up. Uncle Su, I believe Hanyu just misunderstood my relationship with Comrade Lin Jiqing. Why don't I explain things to Hanyu properly? Su's father was about to nod in agreement, but Su Hanyu's reaction grew even more intense. There's nothing to talk about. I will definitely get into college, and I will never marry you. As for you, marry whoever you want. Before anyone else could react, Su Hanyu ran straight toward home. That momentary stubbornness earned her father's family discipline. With a creak, Su's mother carefully pushed open the door, carrying ground herbal juice to Su Hanyu's bedside. Seeing the bruised marks on her arm, she said with heartache, Xiaoyu, why are you being so stubborn? You know why your father insists on you marrying Shenlin. He just sees that Shenlin is a good boy. Su Hanyu lay on the bed, her voice hoarse. It's precisely because he thinks Shenlin is too good that he feels I'm not good enough in every way. Su's father and Shen's father had grown up together, their bond as close as brothers. Later, they encountered a flash flood together. Su's father barely survived by grabbing onto a tree trunk, but Shen's father lost the use of both legs. With Shen's father unable to work and the cost of treating his legs, the Shen family's savings quickly ran out. Su's father believed it was because he hadn't held on to Shen's father's hand that the Shen family had fallen to such a state, so he voluntarily proposed a marriage alliance between the two families. It was only at Su's grandfather's dying plea that Su's father agreed that if Su Hanyu got into college, the marriage wouldn't have to proceed, and all support would be borne by Su's father alone. In her previous life, she mistakenly believed she had failed the college entrance exam and was forced to marry Shenlin. But after the marriage, she witnessed Shenlin entangled with Lin Yu. She cried, made scenes, and even thought about divorce. Every time she broke down in pain, all she got was a flippant remark from her father. You failed the exam. That's your fate. The word fate weighed on Su Hanyu for her entire life. It wasn't until she was dying that she realized her fate shouldn't have been like this at all. Heaven had given her a chance to start over, so she was determined to change the outcome of her previous life. Early the next morning, despite her injuries not yet healed, Su Hanyu hurried to the village post station. When Uncle Lee said there was no letter for her, a flicker of disappointment crossed Su Hanyu's face. She quickly shoved the pastries she was carrying into Uncle Lee's hands and said, Uncle Lee, please keep an eye out for me. If a letter comes for me, don't give it to anyone but me. Okay. Uncle Lee didn't understand why, but he nodded and agreed. Su Hanyu remembered that the admission letter should be arriving soon. She didn't know how Shenlin had intercepted her admission letter in her previous life, so she could only take precautions to prevent what happened before from happening again. With that worry off her mind, Su Hanyu let out a sigh of relief, but as she turned around, she ran into Shenlin standing not far away, watching her. Hanyu, what are you doing here at Uncle Lee's place? Su Hanyu turned her head away, sneering, what does what I do have to do with you? If you have that much free time, you'd better worry about whether Lin Yu can finish all those tasks. Otherwise, if she can't get them done and gets publicly criticized again, you'll be the one feeling sorry for her. Shenlin's expression turned cold, and he directly rebuked Su Hanyu. Hanyu, I've told you many times. Lin Yu's father saved my life once. I'm just repaying that debt of gratitude. Why can't you be more understanding? There's nothing going on between her and me, absolutely no improper relationship. And in the end, I will definitely marry you. Su Hanyu had heard such high-sounding words countless times. In her previous life, the first half of her years was bound by her father's debt of gratitude, forcing her to obey arrangements and marry. The second half was shackled by Shenlin's debt, letting Lin Yu bully her however she pleased while she had to endure and yield, until she was literally angered to death. But why should she? Su Hanyu stared into Shenlin's eyes and said, "What? Is it me who owes Lin Yu's father a life? The gratitude isn't mine to bear, yet when it's time to repay, you all think of me. Shenlin, spare me your talk of marrying me, it's nothing but bad luck. I can get into college on my own. As for you and Lin Yu, do whatever you want." After throwing out those words, Su Hanyu left without looking back. Shenlin watched her retreating figure, a strange, inexplicable feeling brushing across his heart. The village wasn't big, and with Su Hanyu's attitude changing so drastically, word quickly spread throughout the entire village. Everyone knew that the Su family's daughter now despised that Shen boy intensely. At the same time, the topic of discussion also turned to the relationship between Lin Yu and Shenlin. The villagers neither particularly liked nor disliked the educated youth, but Lin Yu always dodged work and even pushed her tasks onto me, which inevitably left a bad impression on everyone. Now that she was entangled with someone who was already engaged, rumors about Lin Yu quietly began to spread. Despite Lin Yu's repeated explanations, everyone could see how specially Shenlin treated her, so they naturally refused to believe her. Su Hanyu paid no attention to these matters. The closer the day for the admission notice arrived, the more she had to stay on high alert. But unexpectedly, the first to find her wasn't Shenlin, it was Lin Yu. "Su Hanyu, I need to talk to you about something." Seeing Lin Yu's troubled expression, Su Hanyu scoffed. "Why not have Shenlin come find me instead? Is he just going to abandon the daughter of the man who saved his life?" Having decades of interaction with her in her previous life, Su Hanyu naturally knew exactly what kind of person Lin Yu was. She was skilled at playing cute and acting obedient, hiding behind the crowd and manipulating others to do her bidding to achieve her goals. That was precisely why, in her previous life, Su Hanyu was targeted and mocked countless times. She knew Lin Yu was behind the mischief but could rarely find evidence. Instead, she'd get scolded by Shenlin, who would rush over upon hearing the commotion. This was the first time Lin Yu had come to her on her own initiative. Hearing Su Hanyu's words, Lin Yu's face turned even uglier, but she still forced herself to say, "Shen Ji and I are innocent. Can you go clear things up for us and say it was just you throwing a tantrum with Shen Ji?" Seeing Su Hanyu remain unmoved, Lin Yu gritted her teeth and asked, "Su Hanyu, you're not actually fooling yourself into thinking Shen Ji has fallen for you just because you're throwing a little fit, are you? Keep this up, and you'd better watch out, you might end up losing more than you gain." Su Hanyu brushed the dust off her clothes and said disdainfully, "Lose? If it means Shenlin stays far away from me, that's exactly what I want." Unexpectedly, upon hearing this, Lin Yu gave a strange smile and spoke up. "Is that so?" The next moment, she lunged directly at Su Hanyu. Su Hanyu instinctively dodged, but to her surprise, Lin Yu's body tilted and she fell straight down the dirt slope beside them. "Ah! Xiaoye!" The startled cries came from nearby. Su Hanyu followed the sound and found herself face to face with Shenlin's furious gaze. Shenlin had originally wanted to have a proper talk with Su Hanyu, but he never expected to walk in and see her push Lin Yu down. He had thought Su Hanyu truly didn't care about him when she said those things, but in reality, she was even more stubborn and vicious. Before Su Hanyu could speak, Shenlin rushed down and scooped Lin Yu up in his arms. Su Hanyu tried to explain, but Shenlin shoved past her while holding Lin Yu. "Haven't you caused enough trouble? Su Hanyu, this is between us. Why do you have to drag Xiaoye into it?" With this baseless accusation thrown at her, Su Hanyu's expression turned grim. "Shenlin, I didn't push her. She fell on her own. I don't want to hear your excuses right now. Shenlin cut her off, staring at her warily. But if anything happens to Xiaoya, I won't let you off the hook. With that, Shenlin hurried away carrying Lin Yu, leaving Su Hanyu alone fuming in place. But her anger didn't last long before she remembered she had something important to do and rushed off to the small woods on the other side. Spotting a middle-aged man lying collapsed beside a hidden thicket, Su Hanyu finally breathed a sigh of relief. In her past life, while working, she had accidentally saved an unconscious middle-aged man here. She had thought it was just a small kindness, but it turned out the man was Song Weihai, a man of great weight in the military. Shenlin's later rapid promotions were largely thanks to Song Weihai. By saving Song Weihai this time, she not only hoped to prevent such an iron-willed soldier from dying prematurely, but also to keep Shenlin from advancing so smoothly in the future. With that in mind, she administered the same first aid as she had in her past life. Soon, the man slowly came to, and upon learning that Su Hanyu had saved him, he was overflowing with gratitude. Little girl, since you saved me, if there's anything you need help with, just say the word. What's your name? Su Hanyu was taken aback for a moment, then smiled. Su Hanyu, but no need for help. It was just a small favor. Leaving those words behind, Su Hanyu turned and walked away. She believed that with Song Weihai's capabilities, he would surely find out about Shenlin, and then Shenlin's hopes of advancing as smoothly as in his past life would be nothing but a pipe dream. With one major worry off her mind, Su Hanyu headed to the courier station as usual. Upon learning there was a letter for her, Su Hanyu was thrilled. Really, Uncle Li? Then where's my stuff? She had expected to get it right away, but Uncle Li simply said, "Didn't your father take it?" Hearing this, Su Hanyu felt a vague sense of unease. She rushed home in a hurry, but when she pushed open the door, she was shocked to find the Shen family all there. Su Hanyu froze in place, frowning. "Why are you all here?" Su's father took a deep drag from his pipe and said grimly, "Why, naturally, to discuss your marriage to Xiaolin." At the word marriage, Su Hanyu's mind went blank for a moment, then she rushed up to her father and said, "No, I fulfilled the agreement and got into university. Why are you still forcing me to marry Shenlin?" "Dad, Uncle Li said you took my letter. Give it back to me. That's my admission notice." Su father shoved Su Hanyu away, his face dark with displeasure. "Without that thing, you'll just marry Shenlin properly." Su Hanyu froze for a moment, a ridiculous suspicion surfacing in her mind as she asked tremblingly, "Dad, what do you mean there's no such thing?" "That's my admission letter. It's mine. You promised Grandpa that as long as I got into college, you wouldn't force me to marry Shenlin." "College? College?" Su father suddenly stood up abruptly, furious. "I think you've read yourself senseless. What's so good about college? A girl still has to get married and settle down eventually. Shaolin is doing well in the military now, and his future prospects are limitless. You say no one's forcing you to marry, but why did you push the educated youth Lin down the hillside out of spite? Do you know this is a matter of life and death? Something you could go to prison for." Su Hanyu felt like her blood was about to boil as she slowly turned her head, fixing her gaze on Shenlin, who had remained silent all along. "So Shenlin, it was you who pulled the strings. Right. You framed me to force me into marriage. So who gets the admission letter? Is it for your dear sister Lin Yu, to take my place and attend college in my stead?" Hearing this, Shenlin grew even angrier. It was clearly Su Hanyu who had done wrong, and he had kindly negotiated terms to keep her out of prison, yet she still viciously slandered Lin Yu. At that thought, Shenlin's expression hardened as he snapped, "Su Hanyu, how many times do I have to say it? Lin Yu and I are completely innocent. Stop spouting nonsense here. You pushed Ye down the hillside. This is the compensation you owe her. You can't attend college. So isn't it good to give the opportunity to someone else? I'm even willing to marry you. What more do you want?" The moment the words left his mouth, Su Hanyu raised her hand and slapped Shenlin across the face. "Who asked you to marry me?" Su Hanyu trembled all over, her gaze at Shenlin filled with hatred. "I can go to college. Have a brand new life and a perfect future. What right do you have to decide for me? No one present had expected Su Hanyu to suddenly strike out. Even Shenlin, who always prided himself on understanding Su Hanyu, was uncharacteristically at a loss for words for a moment, staring blankly into her hateful eyes. This was the first time Shenlin realized that the look Su Hanyu gave him no longer held the affection of the past, but even carried a trace of resentment. Yet the moment the thought surfaced, Shenlin dismissed it outright. How could that be? Hanyu couldn't possibly resent him. Shen's mother was the first to react, stepping forward to check Shenlin's face before shrieking. So this is the fine daughter the Su family has raised. Don't forget, it was you who crippled my old Shen's legs back then and offered to form a marriage alliance. Now my son gets hit by your daughter, and you're going to let this get completely out of hand. Before Su father could speak, Su Hanyu cut in first. That's right. So you'd better tell your son not to marry me. Otherwise, if he ruins my chance at college, the Shen family won't have it easy either. Let's see who outlasts who. Shen's mother, furious, charged forward to tear into Su Hanyu, but Shenlin stepped directly in front of her, his expression restrained. Mom, this is between me and Hanyu. You don't need to interfere. Besides, I am definitely going to marry Hanyu. Shenlin's resolute attitude left Shen's mother speechless with rage, and Su father directly spoke up. Su Hanyu, have you read everything into a dog's belly? Shaolin treats you so well. What exactly are you making a fuss about? I'll ask you one more time. Are you marrying him or not? No. Su Hanyu wiped away her tears in one sweep, looking around at everyone in the room. I am definitely going to college. Even if it kills me, I will not marry Shenlin. Su father was even more furious at these words, and directly stepped forward to grab Su Hanyu. His pincer-like hand gripped Su Hanyu so tightly that she was in pain, and she struggled desperately, but was still forcibly pushed into the room. Bang! The door was slammed shut. Su Hanyu instinctively rushed to the door trying to open it, only to find it locked from the outside. No matter how she struggled, the door remained unmoving. Dad, what are you doing? Let me out. I don't want to get married. I want to study. The crisp sound of keys clinking rang out as Su father said heavily. This is not up to you. Only when you've thought it through can you talk about leaving this room. Su Hanyu hadn't expected Su father to be so resolute. She pounded on the door desperately, begging him to let her out. Receiving no response from Su father for a long time, Su Hanyu gritted her teeth and said, Shenlin, quickly make my dad let me out. I will not marry you. If you insist on forcing me, don't blame me for taking you down with me when the time comes. The resolute words shocked everyone outside the door. Shen's mother cursed Su Hanyu loudly, but unexpectedly, Shenlin, who had always been vague about the marriage, was surprisingly firm this time. This marriage, you will marry whether you like it or not. That admission letter is what you owe Yaya. Once Yaya goes to college, I'll naturally persuade Uncle Su to let you out. After leaving these words, Shenlin took a deep look at the tightly closed door, suppressed his unease, and left the Su family with Shen's mother. Su Hanyu refused to accept her fate. She cursed Shenlin like a madwoman, but until the silence returned outside the door, no one paid her any attention. After shouting for so long, Su Hanyu collapsed weakly to her knees on the ground. Scenes from her past life flooded her mind. She had worked so hard, racking her brains to change the ending of her previous life. Yet she never expected that the ones who would hurt her most would be her own closest family. In this life, her admission letter was taken by her father. What about in her past life? Did her biological parents truly not know that Lin Yu's admission letter was hers? Or perhaps it was they who had given it away in the first place. After all, ever since the engagement was set, their greatest hope was for Su Hanyu to marry Shenlin. And in this life, even though she had given Shenlin and Lin Yu so many chances to be together, Shenlin still chose to sacrifice his own future without hesitation to bind her down for Lin Yu's sake. Helplessness and hatred filled her heart together. Su Hanyu was full of resentment, yet momentarily lost in confusion. This time, Su's father was determined to teach Su Hanyu a lesson. He locked her in her room for 3 straight days, giving her no food or water, forcing Su Hanyu to starve for a full 3 days and 3 nights. It wasn't until the night of the 4th day, as Su Hanyu lay weakly on the bed, that a long-awaited sound came from the door. Su's mother walked in carrying rice and soup, looking at Su Hanyu with deep heartache. "Hanyu, just admit your mistake to your father. Why must you be so stubborn?" Su Hanyu grabbed Su's mother's hand and pleaded. "Mom, I don't want to get married. I want to study. Please, go persuade Dad, okay? If he wants to repay a favor, I can work and earn money for the Shen family in the future. But don't give my admission letter to someone else." Su's mother gently pushed away Su Hanyu's hand, avoiding her gaze. "The admission letter. Your father has already given it to educated youth Lin. It's said to be compensation for you pushing Lin Yu. And now the whole village knows your father accepted the betrothal gift from the Shen family. If you don't marry over, your father will be the target of everyone's scorn." Su Hanyu froze in place, her lips trembling as she asked, "Mom, are you and Dad trying to force me? You know I can't bear to watch you both be blamed by everyone. So you accepted the betrothal gift first and spread the news, forcing me to marry Shenlin. Why? Am I not your own daughter? Why are you forcing me like this for an outsider? Do you have to push me to death before you're satisfied?" Hearing this, Su's mother hurriedly grabbed Su Hanyu's hand and said repeatedly, "Hanyu, how could your parents want to push you to death? Your father is right, a girl will eventually marry. Shenlin is a good boy. He won't treat you badly. Trust your parents just this once. Okay, won't treat her badly. In her past life, Shenlin indeed didn't treat her all that badly. He never skimped on the dignity he gave her. So much so that she doubted him and Lin Yu countless times, only to conclude she was overthinking. But her parents never considered that the hardships and suffering Shenlin shielded her from were things she shouldn't have had to endure in the first place." Clearly, though, Su Hanyu couldn't voice any of this. Seeing Su Hanyu stay silent, Su's mother continued, "And that day you said such harsh words. Auntie Shen refused to let Shenlin marry you. Even the 2 Shen children cried and made a fuss, refusing to let you through their door. It was Shenlin who stopped everyone and said he would only marry you in this lifetime. Hanyu, that boy Shenlin is truly devoted to you, so you should cherish him." Clinging to the last faint glimmer of hope, Su Hanyu asked, "Mom, have you ever thought about how much the Shen family dislikes me? Would I really have a good life if I married into that family? Do you and Dad have to push me like this?" Su's mother paused for a moment, then pressed Su Hanyu's hand and said, "You will. Back then, your mother wasn't well received either, but I still managed to get through all these years. Hanyu, it will be fine." The faint flame completely died out, and Su Hanyu felt as if her soul had been drained from her body. She heard herself lower her head and softly agree, "I'll do as you and Dad say." Upon hearing this, Mother Su's face immediately lit up with joy, and she said in a rush, "Good, good, good. I'll go tell your father right now. Let him release you, so you can properly prepare for your marriage." But as she was about to leave the room, Mother Su hesitated and turned back to say, "Hanyu, are you really willing to marry Shenlin and give up going to university?" Su Hanyu didn't speak, just silently ate the food that had been brought to her. Father Su initially couldn't believe his daughter had agreed so readily, but seeing Su Hanyu's obedient expression, he believed her after all. "How many times have I said it? What use is it for a girl to read so many books? Marry well. Shenlin won't treat you badly." Perhaps because of Su Hanyu's obedience, the usually stern Father Su rarely showed a bit of a kinder expression. But Su Hanyu knew better than anyone that this was all an illusion. She didn't know what Father Su had said to the other villagers, but their gazes on her grew increasingly intense. Even when she occasionally went to the ox cart, she would be hurriedly shooed away. "Your father said we absolutely can't take you along. Otherwise, if anything happens to you, he'd come after us." The village was far from town, and they usually relied on the village ox cart to get out. Father Su was clearly dead set on having Su Hanyu marry Shenlin, even guarding against escape in advance. Su Hanyu just turned around, only to be blocked by Lin Yu standing in front of her. "Why are you scurrying off like a stray dog?" Su Hanyu turned around, staring at Lin Yu and said, "Times really have changed. Thieves can show up boldly on this main road. Lin Yu, did you think taking my admission letter would make everything smooth sailing?" Lin Yu's expression shifted slightly, but she refused to back down. "Su Hanyu, do you think your words can scare me? Let me tell you, Brother Shen has already promised me he'll keep a tight leash on you. Why do you think he's marrying you? Naturally, to keep a better eye on you. You can't leave the village, and the admission letter is in my hands. As for that university, just watch me attend it obediently." Such arrogant words sounded to Su Hanyu like a bit of bluster. "So why are you strutting in front of me now? Could it be that Shenlin gave you my admission letter, but also set some conditions for you? You feel Shenlin is slipping out of your control, so you rushed over to sow discord between us. That makes sense. After all, Shenlin and I will be husband and wife in the future. Who knows? One day with a little pillow talk, he might get hot-headed and report you." Lin Yu's face changed drastically, and her gaze at Su Hanyu carried a hint of hatred. "Brother Shen would never. He said he'd take care of me for life. He's only marrying you to keep an eye on you." I let out a sneer and mocked. "Then why are you in such a hurry?" Lin Yu was left speechless, and in her anger, she simply ran off. Su Hanyu stood in place, closed her eyes, and said, "Since you're here, why hide?" Shenlin stepped out from behind a nearby tree, looking at Su Hanyu seriously and said, "You shouldn't have said those things to Yeye. I won't let you get in the way of her attending university. But I promise, after we're married, you won't be wronged in any way." Shenlin didn't understand why Su Hanyu, who had always trusted him, was holding such a grudge against him this time over Lin Yu. Su Hanyu was getting a bit impatient. "Shenlin, haven't you done enough pretending? As long as you're not in the picture, I won't suffer any grievances." Seeing Su Hanyu's cold expression, Shenlin couldn't help but clench his fists, and the words buried in his heart for so long spilled out. "Are you really so unwilling to marry me?" Su Hanyu thought she might have gone crazy from being locked up, because she actually detected a hint of grievance in his tone. She gave a sarcastic smile and said to Shenlin, "What use does being willing or not have? Would you go and tell my dad we're not getting married if I said I didn't want to?" It was a question she herself had wanted to ask, but the moment she actually heard it, Shenlin somewhat regretted asking. Shenlin suppressed the strange feeling in her heart and walked over to grab Su Hanyu's hand, but she dodged it. "We're not married yet. Don't pull and tug and ruin my reputation." The bitterness in her heart grew stronger, and Shenlin couldn't help but ask out loud, "Su Hanyu, what's wrong with you? Why are you suddenly treating me like this? Don't you like me?" Su Hanyu looked up at Shenlin, annoyed. "So what? Just because I liked you, I can't stop liking you. Or do I have to be your on-call sidekick? A slave at your beck and call? Wake up. There are no slaves in New China. The marriage is what you wanted. So don't say all this nonsense now. If you're not happy, just call off the engagement." Shenlin was at a loss for words for a moment, only able to keep reassuring himself that everything would be fine after marriage. "If you still mind the matter between me and Lin Yu, I will prove to you after we're married that there's nothing between us." "No need," Su Hanyu said coldly. "I don't care. You can be with whoever you want." Shenlin looked at Su Hanyu's distant demeanor, and an inexplicable panic surged through him. He naturally knew that Su Hanyu liked him, otherwise, she wouldn't have agreed to his requests time and again. But her sudden change made him realize that compared to his studies, that affection was far more fragile than he'd thought. For once, a hint of reluctance rose in him, and the marriage he had once disliked now made him feel fortunate. The outside world wasn't so easy to make one's way through, and he would work hard to give Su Hanyu a good life. So that admission letter was better given to Lin Yu. The wedding date had originally been set a month later, but unexpectedly, Shenlin had matters in the army and needed to return early. The marriage application hadn't been approved yet, so the two families discussed and decided to hold the wedding first. Su Hanyu didn't care much about the wedding preparations, but Shenlin, oddly enough, took it seriously, insisting on dragging Su Hanyu along to pick out every single item. The villagers saw this and sighed with emotion, remarking that Su Hanyu had married a good man. But Su Hanyu, As if tired of these words, couldn't help speaking up. Can you give me some personal space? It's not like I'm going to run away. Shenlin stood frozen in place, only suppressing the bitterness in his heart after a long moment before saying, in your eyes, me taking you to see the things for our new home is just to keep an eye on you. What else would it be? Su Hanyu stared at Shenlin with disgust. Don't tell me you're going to say you genuinely want to marry me and live a life together. Shenlin, it's just the two of us now. So stop putting on a show and deceiving people here. An indescribable pain spread from his chest. He had only wanted more time together, but after hearing Su Hanyu's words, Shenlin loosened his clenched fists and said stubbornly, you're right. I am putting on a show. But even if it's a show, you'll be stuck with me for life. Su Hanyu, don't think you can run. After leaving those words, Shenlin hurried away like a deserter. From that day on, Shenlin didn't see Su Hanyu for several days in a row. Until the wedding day, when Su Hanyu put on her new clothes and the door had just opened, she ran straight into Shenlin, who had come to fetch the bride. The villagers saw the couple not speaking and assumed they were shy, so they joked around to lighten the mood, bowing, offering tea. After the ceremony, everyone took their seats and raised their glasses to congratulate the couple. Su Hanyu also rarely wore a pleasant expression, standing beside Shenlin and continuously pouring him wine. Su's father had also drunk too much, grabbing Shenlin's shoulder and instructing him, she's my only daughter, son-in-law, you better take good care of her. Shenlin nodded half-drunk, and perhaps because of the alcohol, the look he cast at Su Hanyu even carried a hint of seductive affection. But the next moment, the words he spat out shattered the illusion. Don't worry, Dad. As long as Hanyu doesn't target Yeye, I'll treat her well. No one found anything wrong with those words. On the contrary, Su's father even shouted for Su Hanyu to stop being so jealous. Su Hanyu nodded without refuting, just kept pouring wine for them. In the dead of night, many people went home drunk. Su's mother took the drunk Su's father back, and Su Hanyu also helped the inebriated Shenlin to the room, not forgetting to shoo away Shen's mother and the others who wanted to take care of him. The smell of alcohol was pungent. Su Hanyu was about to leave when Shenlin reached out and pulled her directly into his arms. Hanyu, where are you going? Seeing that she couldn't break free, Su Hanyu said as if deflated, I'm going to get you a hot towel and a glass of water. We're married now. What else do you need to do? Just as Su Hanyu was about to forcibly pull Shenlin's hand away, she suddenly heard him ask. Right, married. Married is good. Hanyu, do you like me? The anticipation in his words made Su Hanyu silent for a long time before she finally spoke. I do. Those two light words instantly calmed Shenlin down. He let go of her hand and closed his eyes tightly, yet still murmured for Su Hanyu to be careful. Su Hanyu stood by the bed, only speaking after the sound gradually faded. But that was in a past life. Shenlin, let's not see each other again in this life. She wiped the hand Shenlin had touched, then turned and left without hesitation. The village was eerily silent at night, with the incessant chirping of insects sounding as terrifying and urgent as a death knell. She ran drenched in sweat, and even the slightest rustle of wind or grass could make her hold her breath in fear. The cold wind rushed into her neck, and a tearing pain spread through her chest. Finally, Su Hanyu arrived at the haystack beside the Su family home, where she found the bundle she had hidden for a long time. The moment she saw the bundle, Su Hanyu let out a sigh of relief. Just as she shouldered it and prepared to leave, a voice suddenly came from behind her. Hanyu. Su Hanyu stiffly turned around and came face to face with her mother, whose eyes were red-rimmed. Mom. The mother and daughter stared at each other for a long while, until finally Su Hanyu was the first to set down her bundle and close her eyes. Even if you have people drag me back this time, next time, and the time after that, no matter how long you lock me up or how many days you starve me, I will never give up trying to escape. My life shouldn't be chained here. I should go out and see the wider world and put my worth to use. Dad always says marrying is my fate, but I refuse to accept that fate. Su Hanyu didn't expect her mother to let her go. She knew better than anyone how soft her mother's nature was. and how she never dared to defy her father's orders. She didn't blame her mother, she only hated that she hadn't been thorough enough. But suddenly, a heavy weight settled on her shoulder. Soo Han-yu looked up and met her mother's tear-filled gaze. It was her mother who had picked up the bundle and placed it back on Soo Han-yu's shoulder. Mom hasn't read many books, can't compare to you or your dad, and doesn't understand all that fate talk. But after listening to your dad all these years, it's time I heard something else. Today, I'm just out for a stroll since my daughter's been married off. Soo Han-yu's heart trembled, and she instinctively grabbed her mother's hand. Mom, her mother turned her hand over to hold Soo Han-yu's and asked softly, have you arranged everything? The admission letter. Before her mother could ask more, Soo Han-yu nodded. It's all arranged. Mom, don't worry. Once I've settled everything, I'll definitely come back for you. She wanted to spend a little more time with her mother, but her mother pushed her away. Alright, it's getting late. Go now. Any later, and the Shin family might notice. Soo Han-yu understood this too, holding back her tears. She gave her mother one last hug, then steeled herself, turned around, and ran without looking back down the side path. She ran for a long time, only stopping when she spotted a small car. The door opened, and what came into view was a handsome young face. Seeing Soo Han-yu frozen in place, Song Jincheng stepped aside and spoke. Classmate Soo, my name is Song Jincheng, and Song Weihai is my father. Don't worry, my father has briefed me on everything, and I'll make sure to get you out safely. Song Jincheng. That name Soo Han-yu remembered, Shen Lin's old rival in the military, always at odds with him. But Soo Han-yu also remembered that when she and Lin Yu had been kidnapped together, Shen Lin chose Lin Yu and abandoned her. And it was Song Jincheng who had risked his life to save hers. In her past life, everyone said she was lucky to have married Shen Lin, living a life of comfort and wealth. Only Song Jincheng had sneered at that, saying Shen Lin didn't know how good he had it. Soo Han-yu never expected that in this life she would meet Song Jincheng this much earlier. Comrade Song, I'm sorry for the trouble. Song Jincheng was only in his early 20s, and at these words, he looked a bit embarrassed. It's nothing, you saved my father, so you're my benefactor. This is your train ticket north. As for the school, I've already sent someone to inform them. That admission letter is void now. When you arrive, someone will take you to register. If there's anything else I can do, just say the word. Soo Han-yu stared at the ticket to Yucheng in her hand, thought for a long moment, then gathered her courage and said, actually, there is one thing I'd like to ask of you. The car sped past, greeting the faint light of dawn, racing alongside the rising sun. The sky brightened, and the damp, chilly wind slipped in through the window in a steady stream, making the double happiness character behind the door rustle and flap. The faint noise, accompanied by the cold, stirred Shen Lin, still hungover, into a groggy wakefulness. He instinctively reached toward his side, but his hand met only cold emptiness. Almost instantly, his muddled consciousness snapped awake, and he sat up with a jolt. The ache of the hangover made Shen Lin press a hand to his forehead. He squinted toward the bedside. No water cup, no basin, the room just as it always was. If not for the double happiness character on the wall behind the door and the new clothes he wore, he might have thought yesterday's wedding was nothing but a dream. But it wasn't a dream, so where was Soo Han-yu? An inexplicable unease surged in his chest. Ignoring the throbbing headache, Shen Lin forced himself up and opened the door. He searched the hall, the kitchen, the guest room, even the surrounding area, but no matter how he looked, he couldn't find any trace of Soo Han-yu. His mother, who had just gotten up, saw his frantic state and asked in confusion, Xiao Lin, what are you looking for? Shen Lin instinctively glanced at her, then hurried over in a few quick steps and asked, Mom, have you seen Han-yu? Shen's mother pursed her lips and said impatiently, how would I have seen her? Maybe she knows a new daughter-in-law should serve her mother-in-law and is already preparing breakfast early. If you ask me, a woman needs to be properly disciplined. Before she could finish, Shen Lin went back inside and woke up Shen Hui and Shen Xian, who were still asleep. Xiao Hui, Xiao Xin, Have you two seen your sister-in-law? The two kids exchanged a glance and both shook their heads. Shen's mother, who had followed him in, also sensed something was off. Shaolin, what do you mean by that? Wasn't Su Hanyu with you? Don't tell me she ran off. Mom! Shenlin suddenly shouted, his gaze dark and heavy as he looked at her. Hanyu wouldn't run away. Maybe I neglected her because I was drunk yesterday, and she went back to the Su family in a fit of pique. I'm going to find her now. Even as he said this, the hollow void in Shenlin's chest inexplicably widened a little more. He and Su Hanyu had grown up together, and he prided himself on knowing her best. Su Hanyu cherished old bonds and hated causing others worry. She would never vanish without a word. But when Shenlin rushed to the Su family in a panic and bowed in apology to Su's father, he was met with a bewildered look. Shaolin, what do you mean by that? Why are you apologizing to me out of nowhere? Shenlin froze in place and couldn't help asking. Dad, hasn't Hanyu come back? Bang! A loud crash sounded from behind. Su's mother's wash basin hit the floor, and she rushed straight up to Shenlin, pressing him. Shaolin, what do you mean by that? Why would Hanyu come back? Shouldn't she be at your Shen family's place? Or did you do something to drive her away? Hearing this, Su's father immediately lost his composure too. Shenlin, tell us quickly, what exactly happened? Soon, news of Su Hanyu's disappearance spread through the entire village. The villagers pitched in to search for any trace of her, but after combing through the whole village, they found not a single clue. Her clothes, her daily necessities, even the admission letter that had been taken, everything was there. Yet Su Hanyu seemed to have simply evaporated. Married yesterday, gone today. Shen's mother was naturally displeased and demanded that Su's father give an explanation. But Su's father, who had always tolerated Shen's mother's behavior, lost his usual calm at that moment, convinced that the Shen family had done something to make the ever-obedient Su Hanyu vanish for no reason. The two families argued endlessly, and Shenlin, caught in the middle, had no mind for mediation at all. The village was remote, and on foot, it was hard to tell how long it would take to get out. The only means of transportation was an ox cart. Worried that Su Hanyu might have met with misfortune, he searched carefully in every direction, and finally discovered cart tracks on a small path. The tracks led toward the station. Shenlin, using a bit of his connections in the military, begged around everywhere to find traces of Su Hanyu. Without a photo, he could only rely on verbal descriptions, spending 7 straight days at the station asking around. Finally, on the 8th day, a vagrant who slept near the station told Shenlin, "That girl you're talking about is quite pretty, with a mole at the corner of her eye. Early in the morning 8 days ago, she boarded a train with a young man. They looked like a loving young couple." Before the vagrant could finish, Shenlin snapped angrily, "Nonsense. Hanyu wouldn't leave with anyone else. Don't you dare slander her here. If I hear you say that again, I'll break your legs." After saying this, Shenlin fled in disgrace. It wasn't until he shut himself in his room that the vagrant's parting words still echoed in his mind. "Young man, a melon forced off the vine isn't sweet. That girl has someone she loves. She'd rather run away to avoid you, so why keep pestering her?" Shenlin wanted to explain that he wasn't pestering her, it was Su Hanyu who had liked him first. On their wedding day, Su Hanyu had shown no signs of anything unusual. She obediently let herself be dressed, obediently followed behind him, and like a considerate wife, poured wine for him and accepted everyone's congratulations alongside him. But he had forgotten one thing. Su Hanyu was never that docile by nature. He had been swept away by joy, and when he heard Su Hanyu offer to get him water while he was drunk, he naively believed they could make things work. Shenlin thought Su Hanyu had come around. How overjoyed he had been then, and how furious he was now upon learning the truth. He was angry that Su Hanyu had changed her mind, and angry that he had been fooled by such a clumsy act. He wanted to find Su Hanyu and demand to know why. If she didn't want to marry him, she hadn't just said so. But then it suddenly hit him. Su Hanyu had said it, more than once, but he had always taken it as jealous, angry words. He thought once they were married, everything would be fine. Shenlin never expected Su Hanyu would simply choose to flee the wedding. Lying in bed, he felt the dull ache at his temples creeping back again. The tangled thoughts kept Shenlin restless, so he closed his eyes and forced himself to fall asleep. For 3 straight days, Shenlin neither ate nor drank, locking himself in his room. The Shen family was deeply worried, but no matter how they knocked on the door and pleaded, Shenlin refused to open it. In utter desperation, Shen's mother had no choice but to call for Lin Yu. Lin Yu had always hated being a second choice, but she had no one to rely on in the village. If Shenlin truly abandoned her, her days ahead would only grow harder. After some deliberation, Lin Yu still came along with Shen's mother. She had deliberately dressed herself up carefully today, and her knocking carried a hint of pitifulness. "Brother Shen, it's me. Yeah. I know you're worried about Su Hanyu, but you can't just lock yourself away and refuse to eat. Please open the door." "Okay." Lin Yu waited for a long time, but Shenlin showed no reaction. Sensing Shen's mother's reproachful gaze, Lin Yu couldn't help but bite her lip, her resentment towards Su Hanyu deepening even further. It was all Su Hanyu's fault. If she hadn't caused such a scene, she wouldn't have been ignored by Shenlin, nor would the villagers suspect her of doing something. Seeing that Shenlin truly had no intention of acknowledging her, Lin Yu took a deep breath and said, "Brother Shen, it's time to report at the university. I'm a little scared to go alone. Could you take me there?" At the mention of university, the door was suddenly yanked open. Shenlin had dark circles under his eyes. He stared at Lin Yu for a long while before finally speaking. "All right." Hearing Shenlin agree, Lin Yu was overjoyed and immediately grabbed his arm, saying happily, "Really, Brother Shen, you're the best." Looking at the hand gripping his arm, Shenlin felt it was an eyesore for the first time. He couldn't help but recall the rumors in the village, and he couldn't stop himself from wondering whether Su Hanyu would have fled if Lin Yu hadn't been around. But soon, he suppressed that thought deep in his heart. Lin Yu was the daughter of his lifesaver. It was Su Hanyu who should have been more understanding. It had nothing to do with Lin Yu. Besides, at the university, Su Hanyu might be there too. Clang, 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 a train whistle sounded, and Su Hanyu, who had been in the midst of a dream, jolted awake. She looked out at the somewhat desolate scenery outside the window and hugged the bundle in her arms tightly. 3 days and 3 nights on the train was no easy ride, and since it was her first time traveling far from home, her nerves were wound too tight to relax. When she had fled the village that day, Song Jincheng had intended to take her straight to the university registration office. But Su Hanyu had suddenly changed her mind. Yucheng University was fine, but it wasn't the university she truly wanted to attend. Besides, she had left in such a hurry, bringing only a few pieces of clothing and her documents. She didn't have much money on her, and tuition and living expenses were still unresolved. The Song father and son had already helped her so much. Accepting more would make her feel undeserving. Moreover, whether it was her parents or Shenlin, they all knew she had been admitted to Yucheng University. If they came looking for her there, she might dodge them for a while, but she couldn't hide forever. By then, there might not be a second Song Jincheng to rescue her. Most importantly, based on her memories from her past life, the era of reform and opening up was fast approaching. Rather than heading north to study, it would be better to go south first and try her hand at doing business, while using the time to prepare for the college entrance exam again and get into the university of her dreams. Su Hanyu knew her decision was risky. In her past life, after mistakenly believing she had failed the exam, she married Shenlin and managed everything at home. Though she had ambitions and wanted to go out and make something of herself, Shenlin wouldn't allow it. Providing for the family is a man's job. What does it have to do with a woman like you? Just stay home and take good care of mom and the others. Shen's mother was in poor health, and Shenlin's younger siblings were still young, needing care everywhere. Su Hanyu had no choice but to resign herself to staying home. She had planned to go out once Shen Hui and Shen Xian were older, but then she got pregnant, and the child was too young to be away from its mother. By the time her son and daughter grew up, Shenlin had long been promoted and had earned a place in the military. As a military family member, She naturally had to be extra cautious in everything, lest she become a target. So Soo Hanyu's desire to start her own career was dashed once again. For 40 years, everyone envied Soo Hanyu for being a housewife her whole life, well-fed and well-clothed, with a husband in a high position and accomplished children. But Soo Hanyu had felt resentment countless times. Yet under the pressure and scrutiny of everyone around her, she could only deceive herself into thinking, "What's wrong with this? Everyone has gone through the same." It wasn't until Shenlin's funeral, when she had been betrayed by her husband for years, yet everyone blamed her, that Soo Hanyu realized how absurd her past sacrifices and self-deception had been. No one cares about an accessory that has lost its sense of self. In their eyes, she was her parents' obedient and well-behaved daughter, Shenmu's filial and humble daughter-in-law, Shenlin's lifelong wife, and the mother of Shen Tsong and Shenyu. Everyone only remembered her prefixes, but forgot that her name was Soo Hanyu. She was Soo Hanyu, not someone's daughter, not someone's wife, and certainly not someone's mother, living a second life. Soo Hanyu didn't want to leave any regrets behind. Thinking this, Soo Hanyu raised her hand to press against her heart and told herself, "No matter how bad it gets, how much worse could it really be?" The train came to a stop, and Soo Hanyu followed the crowd off the train, arriving in Nanchang. Unlike the bustling and dazzling Nanchang in her memory, the Nanchang of this time was still a somewhat run-down and grey little city. But in Soo Hanyu's eyes, this was her brand new beginning. What Soo Hanyu didn't expect was that as soon as she exited the train station, she discovered her bundle had a huge hole in it, and the money inside had vanished without a trace. She wanted to call the police, but she didn't know where the police station was. She asked passers-by, but in Nanchang, which had yet to develop, everyone she met only spoke the local Nanchang dialect. Soo Hanyu couldn't understand them, nor could she make herself understood. During her inquiries, Soo Hanyu nearly broke down in tears several times, but she forced herself to hold them back every time. She patiently went from shop to shop asking, until she finally found one where the owner could understand Mandarin. The shop owner was an old woman named Grandma Soo, whose husband had passed away long ago and whose children had left years before without any word, running a small tailoring shop to get by. Grandma Soo had a loud voice, and her overly frail frame gave her a somewhat fierce look, causing others to keep their distance. Upon learning that Soo Hanyu's money had been stolen and she was looking for work, Grandma Soo stared at Soo Hanyu for a long while before speaking in halting Mandarin. "I'm too old to bend down. There's a room that's never been cleaned. You clean it up, and I'll pay you." Soo Hanyu quickly agreed. She followed Grandma Soo through an alley and into a small attic. The room Grandma Soo mentioned was actually just a storage closet under the stairs. The moment the door opened, dust hit her in the face, and the small, broken window let in only a sliver of light, while the room was piled high with all sorts of clutter. After handing the room over to Soo Hanyu, Grandma Soo left directly. Soo Hanyu looked at the place before her, gritted her teeth, rolled up her sleeves, and began to tidy up. She moved things out piece by piece, wiped them clean, and even fixed up some of the damaged spots along the way. From morning until evening, Soo Hanyu didn't know how long she worked, but she finally got the entire room cleaned. After finishing everything, Soo Hanyu couldn't help but collapse onto the floor, pounding her aching arms and legs. But when she looked up, she found Grandma Soo standing at the door, seemingly having been watching her for a while. Soo Hanyu quickly stood up. "Grandma Soo, take a look and see if my cleaning is up to standard." Grandma Soo glanced around, then suddenly turned her back and said, "I need a helper here. Room and board provided, but no wages. If that works, say yes." Soo Hanyu was stunned for a long moment before she finally understood what Grandma Soo meant. Overjoyed, she quickly thanked her. After having dinner with Grandma Soo, Soo Hanyu was finally able to return to her room and lie down. A damp mustiness still hung in the air. Soo Hanyu raised her hand to cover her eyes, the soreness in her limbs making her unwilling to move an inch. On her very first day in Nanchang, so many unexpected things had happened. Whether it was for better or worse, Soo Hanyu couldn't say. She lowered her hand, and through the narrow little window, she saw the stars scattered across the sky, shining ever more brilliantly against the darkness of the night. As she gazed at them, the ache in her body seemed to ease somewhat. She opened the window, closed her eyes, and let the cool breeze soothe her restlessness. It can't get any worse. Su Hanyu. With that thought in mind, Su Hanyu fell into a deep sleep. Early the next morning, she got up and went to Grandma Su's tailor shop. She sorted fabrics, attended to customers, and helped out wherever needed. Soon, the neighbors nearby all knew that the quirky tailor shop had taken on a pretty young girl as an assistant. Grandma Su's sewing skills were excellent, but her odd temperament made many people instinctively avoid her. Now with Su Hanyu there, everyone tacitly chose to have her pass along the clothes and requests. Seeing all this, Grandma Su stepped on the sewing machine and said sarcastically, "These people, they sure do like you a lot." Su Hanyu set down the clothes in her hands and looked at Grandma Su with a smile. "What's the use of them liking me? Isn't it all thanks to your craftsmanship? Grandma Su, look how beautiful this turned out." Grandma Su said nothing, so Su Hanyu coaxed and cajoled her until Grandma Su finally put on a fierce front and said, "What are you still doing here? Go attend to the customers." After staying with Grandma Su for half a month, Su Hanyu had figured out that Grandma Su was tough on the outside but soft on the inside, and their interactions became much more natural. She even made a point of learning the southern city dialect from Grandma Su. Meanwhile, Su Hanyu also took advantage of her free time to wander around, finally gaining a preliminary understanding of the southern city. But as for what business to start, Su Hanyu had no idea for the time being. It wasn't until one time when she was cleaning that she happened to notice the leftover scraps of fabric and a sudden idea struck her. After learning that those scraps were useless, Su Hanyu collected them, recut and sewed them into hair ribbons. Once they were done, she used her break time to specifically go sell them at places like the market. Those places had heavy foot traffic, and the hair ribbons sold extremely well. Looking at the money in her hands, Su Hanyu rarely showed a genuine smile. Whether it was for studying or doing business, she needed no small amount of money, and the more she earned, the more confident she felt. Just as Su Hanyu was eagerly preparing to make a big move, she saw a missing person notice about herself on a TV by the market. Su Hanyu, female, 19 years old. Su Hanyu's blood felt as if it had frozen solid in an instant. She had thought that after running away, no one would care except her parents. But this missing person notice was clearly Shenlin's doing. Su Hanyu didn't understand why Shenlin had to keep pestering her in this life and refused to let her go. Was it because he resented her for having Song Jincheng void that admission letter? For Lin Yu's sake, did Shenlin hate her that much? Her heart felt like a pot of boiling oil, seething and churning, as pain and resentment washed over every part of her body. But there was nothing she could do. She could only flee in embarrassment to a secluded spot, letting big tears stream down her cheeks. She cried for a long time, only managing to stop when night fell. Su Hanyu thought for a long time and finally chose to sell the hair ribbons at some of the more remote intersections. But fewer people passing by meant fewer sales. As a result, she often could only sell one or two in a whole day. Su Hanyu thought maybe there was a problem with her work, so she became even more diligent in studying new designs, going to bed later and later. One day while selling hair ribbons, Su Hanyu couldn't hold on any longer and leaned against the wall, falling asleep. But when footsteps approached, she still instinctively jolted awake and said, "Hello, would you like to buy something?" The moment she looked up, Su Hanyu froze in place. It was Grandma Su. She quickly stood up. The usually silver-tongued her was at a loss for words for the first time. Grandma Su said nothing and just walked off in the other direction. Su Hanyu didn't dare say anything more. She quickly packed up her things and followed with her head lowered. But as they walked, it wasn't the direction toward home. Su Hanyu's heart raced with panic. Just as she was about to ask, she saw Grandma Su stop in her tracks. "Just put it down here." She looked up and found it was a bustling market. Though not as crowded as the market she had been to before, it was much better than the street corners where she usually stayed. Su Hanyu stared blankly at Grandma Su and asked in a low voice, Grandma Su. Aren't you angry? I am angry. Grandma Su turned her back to Su Hanyu and said with a cold snort. You come back so late every day. And when I go looking for you, I can't find you. If you died out there one day, I wouldn't even know my helper was gone, would I? Su Hanyu's eyes welled up with tears, and she couldn't help but step forward and hug Grandma Su tightly. Grandma Su was stunned for a long moment, then reached out and hugged Su Hanyu back, saying, I saw that missing person notice. A young girl like you wouldn't have run this far alone unless she was pushed to the brink. From now on, you're my little granddaughter. As time goes by, no one will suspect you. Su Hanyu nodded solemnly, holding Grandma Su even tighter. From that day on, every time a customer came to the tailor shop, Grandma Su would casually drop a hint about Su Hanyu's identity. The neighbors soon learned that the new young helper was actually Grandma Su's granddaughter. As for before, everyone simply assumed that Grandma Su was just eccentric, acting out of spite over her son's years of absence. And Grandma Su seemed to genuinely treat Su Hanyu as her own granddaughter, beginning to push her into learning her sewing and embroidery skills. Even though Su Hanyu had considerable talent in this area, she had started too late and naturally couldn't meet Grandma Su's standards right away. Grandma Su was strict in her demands and merciless in her scolding. Her handkerchief went from wet to dry time and again. Su Hanyu lost count of how many times she had cried. For months on end, Su Hanyu had to review and prepare for the college entrance exam while enduring Grandma Su's scoldings to learn sewing and embroidery, and also find time to sell hairbands and the small trinkets she made herself. She had no time to rest at all, often falling asleep the moment she hit the bed. Those things that had once plagued her sleepless nights seemed to be gradually fading away. Fortunately, as time went on, everything seemed to improve. The progress she had fallen behind was slowly made up. Grandma Su's praises grew more frequent, and her handmade accessories even landed some big orders. Time flowed by like water, and the life she had dreamed of seemed to be drawing nearer day by day. In July 1982, graduation season was in full swing, cicadas chirping incessantly, and the waves of heat in the air were almost unbearable. Su Hanyu had just finished taking a group photo with her classmates when she ran straight into Song Jincheng, who was helping Grandma Su along. She hurried over, taking the flowers from Song Jincheng's hands and scolding him. It's so hot out, why did you bring Grandma here? Grandma Su wiped Su Hanyu's sweat with a handkerchief and said softly, Today is your graduation day. I insisted on coming, so don't blame Xiao Jin. Let Grandma take a good look at you. Su Hanyu gently hugged Grandma Su and said, Graduation isn't that big a deal. But with this heat, it'd be bad if you got heatstroke. Grandma, you need to take better care of yourself too. This was Su Hanyu's 5th year in Nanchang. Grandma Su had an odd temperament, but she doted on Su Hanyu dearly, already treating her as her own granddaughter. Su Hanyu had originally planned to attend Beihua University, but for Grandma Su's sake, she ultimately decided to apply to Nanheng University, which was on par with Beihua. Unexpectedly, after the exams, she ran into Song Jincheng, who had come to check on Grandma Su. It was then that Su Hanyu learned Grandma Su and Song Jincheng's grandfather were old acquaintances. Grandma Su's son and daughter hadn't left home and gone silent, they had died unexpectedly while on a mission. For years, Grandma Su had refused to believe it, insisting they were just sulking and unwilling to see her, and for that reason she had cut herself off from everyone else. When Song Jincheng learned that Grandma Su had suddenly gained a granddaughter, he worried someone might be up to no good and came to investigate, only to run into Su Hanyu instead. When Grandma Su learned of their connection, she marveled at the coincidence. Over the following years, they grew closer and gradually became familiar with one another. After the graduation ceremony ended, Song Jincheng took Su Hanyu and Grandma Su to a restaurant he had booked in advance. Grandma Su kept muttering about wasting money, but the smile on her face simply wouldn't stop. After they had eaten most of the meal, Song Jincheng asked Su Hanyu, Now that you've finished university, what are your plans next? Thinking of going home for a visit. At the mention of going home, Su Hanyu still seemed a bit uneasy. Since the reform and opening up, Nanchang had developed rapidly, Su Hanyu used the money she earned from hairbands to start a small studio, which later expanded into a company covering clothing, accessories, and other sectors. Over the years, she had made a good amount of money and sent plenty to her parents, but she had never gone back home. She had once asked someone to help her check on the situation back home. After learning that Shenlin still visited the Su family as usual during every holiday, she lost the courage to go back. Father Su had been so adamant about making her marry Shenlin. If she returned now, he would likely pressure her again, and she didn't want to go through the trouble of escaping a second time. With that thought, Su Hanyu shook her head and said, "Never mind. I'm planning to take Grandma to a hospital in Beijing for treatment, and while I'm there, I'll discuss a business partnership and check out the market." Hearing that they were going to Beijing for medical treatment, Grandma Su immediately became displeased. "I'm an old woman with one foot in the grave. Why waste money on that? I'm not going. If you have business to attend to, just do it well. Don't worry about an old lady like me." Seeing Grandma Su being stubborn again, Su Hanyu coaxed her with a helpless tone. "Grandma, how is that wasting money? Besides, haven't you always wanted to visit Beijing for fun? Let's just treat it as a trip, okay? Everything else is a minor matter compared to you, so don't overthink it." Song Jincheng, while helping Grandma Su with her food, chimed in to persuade her as well. "Hanyu is right. Coincidentally, I need to go to Beijing too, so I'll go with you all. Since we're discussing matters, why don't I take you around the northern part of the city?" Su Hanyu said in surprise upon hearing that Song Jincheng was returning to the north. "Didn't Uncle Song say you still needed to stay in the southern city?" Song Jincheng waved his hand helplessly. "No matter what he says, it can't compare to the old man's authority. I have to obediently go back." After learning that Song Jincheng was also heading to the north, Grandma Su finally agreed. Su Hanyu still had many matters to handle, so she had Song Jincheng take Grandma Su to the north first, planning to catch up later. By the time everything was settled, half a month had passed. Su Hanyu got out of the car with her suitcase and sat quietly on a nearby chair waiting. Originally, Su Hanyu had planned to take Grandma Su sightseeing directly upon arriving in the north, but unfortunately, news of her bringing Grandma Su to the north reached Old Master Song. Old Master Song insisted on inviting Grandma Su and Su Hanyu to a meal, and Su Hanyu couldn't refuse, so she had to agree. Song Jincheng volunteered to pick her up, but unfortunately, he was assigned a task at the last minute, so Old Master Song arranged for someone else. Su Hanyu wanted to decline, but Old Master Song insisted, so she had no choice but to go along. Fortunately, she didn't have to wait long before a young man in black ran over to her. "Hello, you must be Miss Su, right?" Su Hanyu quickly stood up and asked gently. "You must be Comrade Zhang, right?" Zhang Zhiping scratched his head and said apologetically, "Miss Su, Brother Song has already arranged everything. Just call me Xiao Zhang. I'll take you to the Song residence now." The two chatted as they got into the car, but the moment the door opened, a familiar face came into view. Upon recognizing the person, Su Hanyu's blood ran cold, and she nearly lost her grip on the suitcase handle. Zhang Zhiping didn't notice Su Hanyu's discomfort and explained, "This is our Commander Shen. Old Master Song happened to need him for something, so we gave him a ride along the way." Seeing that Su Hanyu remained silent, Zhang Zhiping cautiously asked, "Miss Su, do you know Commander Shen?" Past and present, everything from before flashed through her mind like a slideshow, and the suffocating tightness in her chest nearly made it impossible for her to breathe. She steadied herself and heard her own voice, suppressed and low, say, "No, I don't. Let's go." Su Hanyu got into the car, sitting as far from Shenlin as possible. She had imagined reuniting with Shenlin before, in the village, at the company, or even a brief glance on a busy street. But no matter the scenario, she had always left herself some space to prepare. Yet it had to happen at this delicate moment. Su Hanyu couldn't quite articulate what she felt. She thought she had grown a lot over the past 5 years and would be able to greet Shenlin calmly and gracefully. But the truth was that the harm from her past life ran far deeper than she had realized, so deep that even after 5 years, She still harbored hatred for Shenlin. Zhang Zhiping, sitting in the driver's seat, sensed the unusual atmosphere but secretly glanced at Shenlin. Shenlin was always expressionless, and after studying him for a while, Zhang Zhiping couldn't detect anything unusual, so he let it go. But Shenlin, the object of her thoughts, was not as calm as Zhang Zhiping assumed. He knew Su Hanyu didn't like him, so when she wasn't looking, he shifted closer to the door. Even so, the faint, elusive fragrance from Su Hanyu lingered around Shenlin. Her white shirt, too, seemed to become increasingly dazzling. He tried his best to restrain his movements, unwilling to appear too attentive and scare Su Hanyu away. A full 1,873 days had passed without any news of Su Hanyu. 5 years ago, he had wallowed in despair at home, and with the intention of seeing Su Hanyu, he had escorted Lin Yu to Yucheng for college. Shenlin had even thought it through. If he could find Su Hanyu and she was willing to come back with him, he would take back the admission letter he had given Lin Yu and return it to Su Hanyu. Even if doing so would wrong Lin Yu, he no longer cared. He had finally realized that he didn't want to, and couldn't afford to, lose Su Hanyu. If Su Hanyu wanted to study, wasn't his willingness to let her go enough? He still refused to believe that Su Hanyu truly didn't like him anymore. On the way to Yucheng, Lin Yu chattered on endlessly. He didn't take in a single word, his mind entirely occupied with what he should say when he saw Su Hanyu. Apologize, admit his mistakes, or perhaps act as usual. Shenlin thought for a long time, and in the end, he found that the only thing he truly wanted to say was one sentence. Once you finish college, how about we remarry? But in the end, those words still couldn't be spoken. He took Lin Yu to Yucheng University, only to be told that the admission letter had long been invalidated. This student already came to inform us in advance. She said she couldn't enroll due to family reasons and requested that the admission letter be voided. The admissions office staff member said, then looked at them with suspicion. Where did you two get this admission letter? That single sentence made Lin Yu collapse on the spot. The admission letter was nearly crumpled into a ball in her hands as she could only keep pleading. How is that possible? I never voided this admission letter. Please, can you undo it? This is the university I worked so hard to get into. I didn't void it. Growing desperate, Lin Yu even grabbed Shenlin and begged him to help explain. Brother Shen, tell him quickly. This admission letter is mine. I never voided it. Why won't you let me enroll? Shenlin didn't move, frantically trying to figure out why. Su Hanyu had been willing to sever ties with him just to attend university, even running away without regard for her parents. How could she possibly choose to void this admission letter? He rushed up to the staff member, forcing down his panic to ask, did Su Hanyu come to the school herself to void it? But the staff member refused to say more, only insisting that it was indeed voided by the person herself. The evasive attitude made Shenlin increasingly uneasy. He pushed Lin Yu aside and desperately put out missing person notices everywhere. Yet for 5 whole years, the only evidence that Su Hanyu was still alive and well was a sum of money regularly deposited into Su's father's account. Shenlin thought he would never see Su Hanyu again in this lifetime, never expecting to run into her under these circumstances. There was no trace of the destitute, disheveled appearance he'd imagined. She was composed, serene, yet carried a hint of radiant charm. It was a Su Hanyu he had never seen before, more vibrant and full of life. Everything was reminding him of the one fact he least wanted to admit. Without him, Su Hanyu seemed to have become better off. A nameless frustration clogged Shenlin's chest like a wad of cotton, making even his breathing feel labored. The car suddenly came to a stop, and Zhang Zhiping turned to look at the back seat. Miss Su, Commander Shen, we've arrived. Su Hanyu nodded, then eagerly opened the car door. Shenlin looked at his empty hand, paused for a moment, then withdrew it and got out as well. As soon as he saw Su Hanyu, Song Jinchang immediately came up to greet her. Hanyu, you're here. Grandma Su is waiting for you inside. He was about to say more when his peripheral vision caught sight of Shenlin getting out of the car, and his expression darkened. Zhang Zhiping quickly explained, Brother Song, Old Master Song happened to need to see Commander Shen, so we came together. Song Jincheng glanced at Su Hanyu, then nodded. If the old man wants to see someone, I naturally can't stop him. Hanyu, let's go. He shielded Su Hanyu from behind, his lean frame blocking her completely from Shenlin's view. As a man himself, Shenlin naturally sensed Song Jincheng's hostility and protectiveness. And Song Jincheng's guarded attitude clearly indicated he knew something about the relationship between Shenlin and Su Hanyu. But what unsettled him even more was Su Hanyu's demeanor. The Su Hanyu who had been so wary of him just moments ago was surprisingly relaxed around Song Jincheng. He clenched his fists, his thoughts in turmoil. Zhang Zhiping, oblivious to Shenlin's unease, stared at Song Jincheng and Su Hanyu's retreating figures and remarked, "Brother Song and Miss Su really do make a perfect match. I heard Miss Su is a university student too." At those words, Shenlin abruptly stopped in his tracks. Zhang Zhiping was startled and said nervously, "Commander Shen, I forgot you don't like hearing these things. Sorry, are they together?" Shenlin stared at Song Jincheng's retreating figure and asked in a low voice. Zhang Zhiping was stunned for a moment, then stammered out an answer after a while. Not yet. I heard Brother Song hasn't confessed yet, but he's already waited for that girl for 5 years, so it should be soon." 5 years? Shen Linxin's heart tightened, and she instinctively thought of Su Hanyu's disappearance 5 years ago. The village was clearly so far from the station, with no ox cart or bicycle, yet Su Hanyu had managed to catch the train in less than 6 hours. The vagrant's words echoed in Shen Linxin's mind again. The stranger from 5 years ago suddenly had his identity revealed at this moment. She took a deep breath and couldn't help but quicken her pace to catch up with the two. Zhang Zhiping, who had been left behind, looked utterly confused and muttered to himself, "Doesn't Commander Shen usually dislike others prying into personal matters? Why is she so eager to ask around this time?" On the other side, Song Jincheng wasn't acting as calm as he appeared either, frowning deeply as he said, "It was careless of me. I forgot to ask Xiao Zhang whether he picked up anyone else to come with you. He didn't do anything to you, did he?" Su Hanyu shook her head, recalling Shen Linxin's attitude, and said, "It's fine. Besides, 5 years have passed, he's probably long forgotten about what happened back then. By now, he should be with Lin Yu. Why would he care about someone who ran away from the marriage like me?" Seeing that Su Hanyu didn't take it to heart, Song Jincheng silently swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. As a man, he could see through Shen Linxin's calm exterior to the covetous gaze he cast at Su Hanyu. It was like the fervor of someone who had been stranded in the desert for 7 days and 7 nights suddenly spotting a water source. But he had no intention of telling Su Hanyu this. He didn't want Su Hanyu to hate Shen Linxin. Hatred often stemmed from caring too much, and the more she ignored him, the more it showed she didn't care about that past relationship. A discarded former fiancé, someone who didn't even have a marriage certificate, could never compete with him. At that thought, Song Jincheng grew even more pleased, and even the gloom from running into Shen Linxin earlier dissipated considerably. Old Master Song and Granny Su had been waiting in the living room early, and their faces lit up with joy when they saw Song Jincheng bringing Su Hanyu in. "So this is Hanyu." Old Master Song walked up to Su Hanyu and looked happily at Granny Su beside him. "You know, after raising her for all these years, she does bear a bit of a resemblance to you." Su Hanyu took out the gifts she had prepared in advance. "Grandpa Song, this is a small gift I brought for you. It's nothing valuable, I hope you don't mind." "If he minds, then I'll take it." Granny Su made a move to snatch it, and Old Master Song quickly grabbed it and said, "Why are you still acting like such a bandit after all these years? Since Hanyu gave it to me, of course I have to keep it." As he spoke, Old Master Song also noticed Shen Linxin catching up, and immediately called out, "Oh right, I almost forgot there are still some matters to handle. Xiao Jin, take Hanyu and the others to the side hall and treat them well, I'll be there in a moment." Song Jincheng nodded and led Granny Su and Su Hanyu toward the other side. As she passed by Shen Linxin, Su Hanyu seemed to catch a glimpse of his hand reaching out toward her, but it was only for a fleeting moment. When she looked more carefully, she saw that his hand was still properly at his side. She didn't dwell on this little incident and soon forgot about it. About half an hour later, Old Master Song finished his business and invited them to chat together, also keeping Su Hanyu and Granny Su for dinner. Granny Su and Old Master Song were old comrades in arms, and after years apart, their conversation never seemed to run dry. Su Hanyu and Song Jincheng joined in, hearing many stories from the past, and even had to drink a few glasses of wine to show their enthusiasm when the two got excited. By the time they were full and satisfied, the sky had long since darkened. Old Master Song still wanted to keep Granny Su and Su Hanyu for the night, but the two weren't used to staying over, so they both declined. Since they wouldn't stay, Old Master Song instructed Song Jincheng to escort them back to the inn. Granny Su had rarely drunk, so she became even more talkative, clutching Su Hanyu's hand and rambling on endlessly. Su Hanyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and could only coax Granny Su, saying, all right, I'll listen to you, Grandma, let's just sit here quietly, and we'll go to sleep soon. Song Jincheng rarely saw Su Hanyu acting so coaxing, like soothing a child, and couldn't help but laugh. You really have a close bond with Grandma Su. As night deepened, streetlights on both sides lit up one by one, pedestrians came and went, and vehicles hurried past. It was quite lively. The car stopped, and Song Jincheng helped Grandma Su out along with Su Hanyu. Just as they were about to head into the hotel, they caught sight of Shenlin standing off to the side. Su Hanyu didn't want to acknowledge Shenlin and turned her head to Song Jincheng, saying, don't mind him. Let's take Grandma upstairs to rest first. If he wants to stand there, let him. Song Jincheng shook his head and said in a low voice, he's bound to get in your way here. I'll go send him off. You take Grandma Su to rest first. With that, Song Jincheng directly waved over the hotel attendant, handed over some money, and had the attendant help Su Hanyu support Grandma Su upstairs to rest. Seeing that Song Jincheng was insistent, Su Hanyu could only nod, not forgetting to remind him, stay safe. If they won't listen, just ignore them. Song Jincheng stood in place, watching Su Hanyu enter the hotel, and soon the light in the room flickered on. He lowered his head and immediately spotted Shenlin walking toward him. Commander Shen, what's with the stalking? Shenlin raised his head, looking at the room that had just lit up. This is the best hotel in the North City. I knew you'd book here without needing to follow you. Hearing this, Song Jincheng sneered. No wonder Hanyu hasn't wanted to mention you these past few years. In your eyes, is she only fit to cling to others, with no independence at all? The hotel was Hanyu's pick, and Hanyu paid for it. With the hidden truth suddenly exposed, Shenlin's breathing grew ragged. Song Jincheng, how long have you known her? What makes you think you can act like you understand her so well? I've known her for a full 20 years. Who the hell are you? Shenlin was always calm and reserved. Aside from that incident with the vagrant, this was only the second time he'd impulsively spoken so rudely. Seeing Shenlin's fury, Song Jincheng snorted coldly. So what if it's 20 years? In 20 years, you still had to force Hanyu into a marriage in name only. Oh, and by the way, you never even filed the marriage application. You don't even have that status. Song Jincheng rarely showed such a smug expression, infuriating Shenlin so much that he lost his composure and grabbed Song Jincheng by the collar. If it weren't for you, Hanyu would already be my wife. Stop it. The shout came from not far away. Su Hanyu ran over, panting, and yanked Shenlin's hand away, shoving him back. Shenlin, I've had nothing to do with you for 5 years now. What are you still making a fuss about? Su Hanyu watched Shenlin warily, still shielding Song Jincheng behind her, afraid he might do something rash. Seeing Su Hanyu protectively standing in front of the other man, a flicker of hurt passed through Shenlin's eyes. He took a deep breath, suppressing the frustration in his chest, and asked, Hanyu, we got married. He deceived you, took you away, and kept us apart for 5 whole years. Shenlin, wake up. Su Hanyu stared at him coldly, without hesitation. Song Jincheng didn't deceive me, and he certainly didn't take me away. It was my choice from start to finish. I even asked him to bring me along. Being apart from you was exactly what I wanted. As for the so-called marriage you keep talking about, without a marriage certificate, the law won't recognize it. If you keep harassing me, don't blame me for calling the police." With that, Su Hanyu grabbed Song Jincheng's hand and walked off in the other direction. Shen Lin instinctively wanted to follow, but stopped himself the next second. He stood there, watching the two figures disappear from sight. Bitterness and ache swelled in his chest, pain spreading uncontrollably through his limbs. Shen Lin didn't understand, had Su Hanyu's shove really been that hard? Otherwise, why would it make it so difficult for him to even breathe? Shen Lin stood there for a long time. So long that most of the streetlights went out and the cars on the road vanished. Before he slowly made his way back. When he reached the building where he rented, Lin Yu, who had been waiting for a while, suddenly jumped out. "Brother Shen, why are you back so late? Did something happen?" Shen Lin looked at Lin Yu for a long time, but still didn't mention running into Su Hanyu today. "It's nothing. How's your preparation for this exam going?" When the admission letter was invalidated, Lin Yu had no choice but to return to the village since she couldn't attend university. Shen Lin went to great lengths to give Lin Yu a chance to return to the city. Unfortunately, Lin Yu's mother, seeing that her daughter hadn't gotten into university, wanted to marry her off and use the bride price to find a wife for her son. Lin Yu made a fuss and even threatened to die, but when she saw that her mother wouldn't budge, she turned to Shen Lin. Initially, Shen Lin wanted to pay the bride price himself, but Lin Yu's mother was adamant about marrying her off. Helpless, Lin Yu sought out Shen Lin again. "Brother Shen, I don't want to get married. I want to go to university. Why don't you marry me? I promise I won't cause any trouble and will study hard for the college entrance exam." She thought Shen Lin would agree, but unexpectedly, Shen Lin, who had always granted her every request, refused her. "My wife is Su Hanyu. I can't marry you." But she ran away. Lin Yu grabbed Shen Lin's arm almost frantically, pleading, "Besides, you don't have a marriage certificate, so you're not legally husband and wife. Brother Shen, you promised my father you'd take care of me. Are you going to break your promise?" Shen Lin didn't break his promise. He used all his savings to buy Lin Yu 5 years of time. If she could get into university within 5 years, her mother wouldn't force her to marry. 5 years had passed, and this was the last chance. Lin Yu naturally understood what Shen Lin meant. She stopped in her tracks, looking dejected. "Brother Shen, is this the only thing we can talk about now?" An inexplicable weariness washed over him, and Shen Lin raised a hand to rub his brow. "It's getting late. You should get some rest too." "I'm tired. I'm going to bed." Ignoring Lin Yu's persistence, he walked straight upstairs. Lin Yu watched Shen Lin's retreating figure and unconsciously bit her lip. Since Su Hanyu left 5 years ago, Shen Lin's attitude toward her had changed considerably. If she weren't still holding the favor over his head, Shen Lin would probably have stopped caring about her long ago. She had thought that in 5 years, even the hardest heart would soften. But Shen Lin was like a block of wood, refusing no matter what. And today he was especially cold to her. By instinct, Lin Yu felt that Shen Lin must have run into something today. After dragging Song Jincheng to the inn, Su Hanyu immediately let go of his hand and looked at him apologetically. "Sorry, I put you through that just now." Song Jincheng felt the lingering warmth on his arm from earlier and subtly tucked his hand behind his back with a smile. "Don't be so formal with me. Shen Lin doesn't seem to have given up on you yet. I should stay by your side for a while." Su Hanyu shook her head helplessly. "You rarely get a break. How could I waste your time on me? Besides, you've already helped me so much over the years. I'd feel guilty asking for more." Su Hanyu spoke sincerely, and her gaze at Song Jincheng was as clear as lake water, with no hint of coy reluctance. Looking at her, Song Jincheng suddenly lost his focus. "What's wrong?" Noticing his daze, Su Hanyu asked curiously. Song Jincheng snapped back to reality. He smiled unconsciously, then reached out and ruffled Su Hanyu's hair. "I don't think it's any trouble at all. Besides, Grandma Su is an old friend of Grandpa's. For her sake, I should look after you more. Aren't we going to the hospital tomorrow? Just wait for me." Without giving Su Hanyu a chance to refuse, Song Jincheng turned and strode away quickly, looking almost like he was fleeing. Su Hanyu felt something was off but couldn't quite put her finger on it. She went up the stairs and back into the room, only to find Grandma Su standing by the window. "Grandma, why aren't you asleep yet?" Su Hanyu hurried over and followed Grandma Su's gaze, catching sight of Song Jincheng looking back repeatedly as he walked away. Only Granny's position was somewhat hidden, so Song Jincheng shouldn't have been able to see her direction. "Hanyu, is that young man today the one who almost married you?" Granny Su held Su Hanyu's hand and asked seriously. Su Hanyu took a deep breath, still unwilling to keep hiding it, and then nodded. "I didn't expect to run into him in Beicheng after 5 years. But I've already made it clear to him, so he shouldn't keep pestering me." Granny Su raised her hand to caress Su Hanyu's face and said softly, "Hanyu, you know too little about men. He won't give up. By the way, there's something else I need to ask you. As for Xiao Jin, what are your true feelings?" Su Hanyu didn't quite understand and grabbed Grandma Su's hand. "What does this have to do with him? Shenlin is Shenlin. I can handle things between us myself. I don't need his help." Seeing Su Hanyu looking so clueless, Grandma Su said with frustration, "Who said anything about Shenlin? Haven't you noticed that Song Jincheng's attitude toward you is anything but ordinary? Ordinary friends wouldn't act like this." Seeing Su Hanyu freeze, Grandma Su patted her hand. "Grandma's tired. Going to bed first. Think it over." Su Hanyu was stunned for a moment and instinctively moved to support Grandma Su. But Grandma Su pointed out the window, signaling she didn't need to bother. Su Hanyu turned around, puzzled, only to find that Song Jincheng had stopped in his tracks at some point and was standing still, gazing fixedly in her direction. Though the distance was too far to make out the expression on Song Jincheng's face, Su Hanyu could feel that he was smiling at her, and she couldn't help but unconsciously return a smile. It was at that moment that Grandma Su's words echoed in her ears again. Between a man and a woman, if not ordinary friends, then what else could they be? Ever since her rebirth, Su Hanyu had been on edge almost every moment. She was afraid of being caught and forced into marriage, afraid that everything she'd worked for would vanish into thin air, and even more afraid that everything since her rebirth was just a dream. Occasionally, Su Hanyu would ask herself, what exactly was she afraid of? She'd asked herself many times, and every time the answer she could come up with was simply that she didn't want to lose herself. In her past life, she had no self-worth whatsoever, she'd given everything and been despised by everyone, and she'd had enough of that life. That was precisely why she'd never considered marriage. Now that Grandma Su had asked, she felt at a loss instead. Her thoughts were in a jumble, and even her dreams became chaotic and messy. It was like sinking into a mud pit, stepping deep and then shallow, never knowing when she'd step into a deep hole and be completely swallowed by the mud. In that half-suffocating state, she thought of a past event. It was a month before her college entrance exam, when she'd started having nightmares frequently. In her dreams, she'd always think of things from her past life, Mother Shen's torment, the rudeness of the Shen siblings, and all sorts of tangled trivialities, like vines slowly wrapping around Su Hanyu, leaving her no time to think of anything else. As time went on, the vines turned into silk threads, manipulating her, exhausted from running around, into a puppet. The threads cut into her body, making her no longer refined and beautiful, no longer as composed as before. Yet everyone only blamed her for not trying hard enough, for not being firm enough. No one spared a single glance at the threads that were the real culprits. These nightmares tormented Su Hanyu until she grew gaunt, and even her spirits became increasingly listless. Just then, Song Jincheng suddenly appeared before her with a bunch of morning glories. "I heard from others that these flowers have magic, they can drive away nightmares and help you sleep well. Perfect for you." Su Hanyu looked at the morning glories still bearing dewdrops and couldn't help but laugh. "Aren't you a staunch materialist? Bringing these flowers? Careful. Grandpa Song will scold you." Unexpectedly, Song Jincheng pulled out a small pouch like a magician and smiled at Su Hanyu. "A staunch materialist naturally prepared medicine for you. Don't worry. I asked the doctor, no side effects. It won't affect your studies. As for these morning glories, Consider it a staunch materialist being idealistic just this once. It's not a hassle anyway. Song Jincheng shook the flowers as he held them up in front of Su Hanyu. Su Hanyu reluctantly accepted them and tried to pay, but Song Jincheng refused. Song Jincheng only had 7 days of leave. And for those 7 days, he brought her fresh morning glories every day. Though Su Hanyu teased Song Jincheng for believing in such things, she still specially bought a small vase and placed the morning glories in it. Whether it was the medicine or the morning glory, Su Hanyu indeed stopped having nightmares and could finally sleep soundly through the night. She had assumed that after 7 days, the morning glories would stop coming, but on the 8th day, a child appeared holding a morning glory and said to her seriously, "Brother Song asked me to give this to Sister Su." Su Hanyu wanted to refuse, but the child insisted. "Brother Song paid for my grandpa's medical bills, and he said this is my payment for bringing you flowers every day. If you don't accept it, he won't pay." With that, Su Hanyu had no choice but to take it. She later called Song Jincheng to ask about it, but he replied nonchalantly, "That kid has a lot of pride, he wouldn't feel right accepting something for free. So I came up with a solution that works for both of us." Would Sister Su really have the heart to turn down a child? The last sentence was said in a childlike tone, which made Su Hanyu laugh despite herself. But it wasn't until after her college entrance exam that she learned the morning glories in Nanching grew near the child's home, which was over a dozen kilometers away from where Song Jincheng lived. It only took the child an hour to reach her, but Song Jincheng had to travel 3 hours. Those 7 days, he picked the morning glories before dawn every day, just to give her the earliest, freshest, and most beautiful blooms. The morning glories from years ago seemed to work their magic once again, as if by some unseen force. The tangled thoughts drifted away, and a touch of tranquil purple and white gradually filled the entire dream, allowing Su Hanyu to slowly fall into a deep sleep. For several days in a row, Shenlin did not appear before Su Hanyu again. Meanwhile, Su Hanyu busied herself with company matters while also taking Grandma Su to see a doctor, and on the side, she arranged for a comprehensive checkup. Fortunately, after the examination, the doctor said that Grandma Su was just advanced in age and overworked, and as long as she rested well, there would be no major issues. As they left the hospital, Grandma Su was still grumbling. "I told you it was nothing serious. See, isn't this just wasting money? Making money these days isn't easy, and a young girl like you should be dressing yourself up nicely, not spending it on an old woman like me." Song Jincheng supported Grandma Su and chimed in to help. "Grandma Su, don't worry about the money. No matter what, we wouldn't be short on your account." Just as they were about to get into the car, a familiar voice suddenly came from not far away. "Hanyu." Hearing this, Su Hanyu's body trembled. She turned around and immediately saw Su's father and mother beside Shenlin. The moment she saw Su Hanyu clearly, Su's mother rushed over quickly, tears welling up in her eyes. "Hanyu, it really is you. Come, let Mom take a good look at you." Su Hanyu looked a bit flustered, trying to steady her voice as she said, "Mom, why are you and Dad here? If we hadn't come, were you planning to never come back for the rest of your life?" Su's father stormed over angrily, his gaze toward Song Jincheng full of wariness. "I've heard everything from Shaolin. You're the one who took Hanyu away, right? Do you know I could call the police?" Su's mother quickly grabbed Su's father and scolded him. "What are you saying? Back then, when you drove Hanyu away, who was the one shouting about regretting it? Now that we've finally found Hanyu, are you trying to drive her away again?" Su's father glared at Su's mother and said angrily, "Back then, I thought she had run into some kind of trouble and was being forced by someone. But no, it turned out she ran off on a whim herself. And she's been fooling around with other men. Back in the old days, she'd have been drowned in a pig cage for that. Have you said enough?" Grandma Su raised her voice, her eyes blazing with anger at Su's father. "You drove your own daughter away, yet you blame her for everything. 5 years without seeing her, and all you, as her father, have is criticism. Have you ever asked her how hard it was for a young girl out there on her own, how much she suffered?" Su's father was taken aback, then retorted, "So what? She brought it on herself, she deserves it. Seeing that Grandma Sue was about to flare up again, Soo Han-yu pressed her hand down on Grandma Sue's, took a deep breath, and said, "Right, I brought it on myself. But even if I suffer the most out there, I won't follow your arrangements and go back to marry Shenlin. Anyway, in your eyes, a daughter who can't marry Shenlin is no different from being dead. Isn't that right?" Slap. The moment she finished speaking, Sue's father raised his hand and struck Soo Han-yu hard across the face. Everyone present froze, and even Sue's father stared at his own hand in utter disbelief. "Han-yu." Song Jinchang immediately looked at Soo Han-yu's face, his heart aching. "Let me take you to see a doctor." Soo Han-yu stopped Song Jinchang, holding back her tears. "No need. This slap, I'll take it. Since he likes Shenlin so much, he might as well just adopt Shenlin as his son and forget about having me as a daughter. I'll say this now. I'm not going back. And I'm definitely not marrying Shenlin. I'll pay every cent I owe. But other than that, you can just consider this daughter of yours dead." After saying this, Soo Han-yu directly helped Grandma Sue into the car. Song Jinchang's face turned ashen as he looked at Sue's parents. "Uncle and Auntie, if you have even a shred of familial affection for Han-yu, you might want to learn about what she's been through in the past. If you still insist on being stubborn, then I believe Han-yu's decision to leave will be the most correct one she's ever made in her life." With that said, Song Jinchang didn't linger and turned to get straight into the car. After all the commotion, Soo Han-yu still agreed to Song Jinchang's suggestion and temporarily moved into the Song residence with Grandma Sue. Unexpectedly, Sue's father somehow learned of Song Jinchang's identity and kicked up a huge fuss. Alarming Old Master Song. Old Master Song had lived a clear and upright life, only to be accused in his old age of condoning his grandson's seduction of an innocent young girl. Naturally, he was furious. But after Song Weihai explained everything, Old Master Song fell silent for a long while before taking the initiative to ask Soo Han-yu. "Han-yu, do you want me to step in and send them packing?" Soo Han-yu shook her head and spoke up. "No need. I'll handle it." Even so, Old Master Song worried that Sue's father might lock Soo Han-yu up again, so he simply had them all brought to the Song family's reception hall. 5 years had passed, and this was the first time Soo Han-yu faced Shenlin Lin Yu, and Sue's parents so calmly. As everyone sat together, Old Master Song spoke first. "5 years have gone by. To make sure you don't misunderstand your daughter, why don't you take a look at these first?" A photo album was brought out, and when opened, it revealed bits and pieces of Soo Han-yu's life over the past 5 years. From selling hair ties, learning embroidery, staying up late to study for exams, to gradually building a small studio, receiving an admission letter, winning awards. In the photos, Soo Han-yu never seemed to rest, as if she was busy with something every moment, yet her face always carried a spirited drive, vivid and full of life. She seemed like a completely different person from the Soo Han-yu of the past. Soo Han-yu instinctively looked at Song Jinchang, only to see him give her a reassuring smile. Grandma Sue also spoke up from the side. "The first time I met Han-yu, she had just arrived in Nanchang. She couldn't speak the local dialect, and her money had been stolen. A young girl, unfamiliar with the place, unable to communicate, the difficulties she faced, I don't need to spell out. I said I could lend her money to go back, but she refused. She told me she had escaped with her life, and even if she died out here, she wouldn't go back. You were so busy forcing her to marry Shenlin, did you ever ask her why she didn't want to?" Sue's father took a deep breath and said, "Why else? Isn't it just that she's too proud, thinking she's better than everyone and that little Shen isn't good enough for her? Why doesn't she look around and see who in the whole region is better than him? Could we, as her parents, ever do her harm?" Song Jinchang spoke up and asked, "So in your eyes, Uncle Sue, your daughter is really that worthless? That she doesn't deserve better? That she doesn't deserve to study, to work, to live life on her own terms? In your view, is her only value that of a woman who manages the household, cooks, and cleans?" Sue's father abruptly stood up and snapped, "She's my daughter, do I need you to tell me that? Besides, Which daughter hasn't gone through this? They all turn out just fine and happy. Then why don't you ask, was Mom happy? Soo Han-yu also stood up, meeting Sue's father's gaze. She spent decades being the good woman in your eyes. Ask her if she was happy. Happy to be locked at home for decades, washing clothes, cooking, sewing, and cleaning. Happy that despite learning so many skills, in your eyes she's still just a useless woman who only knows how to ask for money. Sue's father grew even angrier and slammed the table. How is she not happy? She doesn't have to work. She has food and clothes without worry. What's wrong with doing a little work? If she doesn't do it, am I, a grown man, supposed to do it? I'm not happy. A forceful voice cut off Sue's father's words. He froze for a moment and turned to look at Sue's mother, who had stood up at some point. The day Han-yu left, I saw her. I was the one who let her go and covered her tracks. Han-yu was right, I'm not happy. Without you, I have hands and feet to support myself, and others would even praise me for being capable. But marrying you, you think I just stay home eating and drinking all day doing nothing. You're tired from making money, but I handle social obligations. Laundry, cooking, cleaning, and caring for the elders. How is that not tiring too? Why do you get to blame me like this? As Sue's mother spoke, tears fell uncontrollably. She took a deep breath and said, I'll say this now, whoever forces Han-yu to marry Shenlin again, even if it costs me my life, I won't let that person get away with it. I've lived a hard life. But my daughter won't live like this. She got into university and graduated, and she can run her own business and make money. My daughter is so much stronger than a bunch of men. Why should she be forced to give up everything? With that, Sue's mother walked step by step to Soo Han-yu's side, shielding her without hesitation in the posture of a mother, carrying out a protection that was 25 years late. Shenlin stood up and said hurriedly, I never asked Han-yu to give up everything, but it was you who took my admission letter. Soo Han-yu stared at Shenlin and suddenly asked, Shenlin, let me ask you a question. Speak with your hand on your conscience. That time on the hillside, did you really think I pushed Lin Yu down? Hearing this, Lin Yu instinctively looked at Shenlin, her heart tightening. Seeing Shenlin remain silent, Soo Han-yu couldn't help but sneer. See, you know it wasn't me. Shenlin, you think I'm cruel, but the cruelest and most selfish one is you. You clearly liked me, but because this marriage was forced on you by your mother, you refused to admit your feelings and blamed everything on me. You ignored me and belittled me, and when I wanted to call off the engagement, you were unwilling and even schemed to force me. You knew I didn't push Lin Yu, but to make me stay, you insisted I did. That way you could take my admission letter without a second thought. On one hand, you repaid a debt of gratitude. On the other, you made sure I couldn't escape your control. You claim to respect me, yet you want me to tolerate Lin Yu because her father did you a favor. But I'm an independent person, not your appendage. Why should your debt of gratitude hold me hostage? Shenlin wanted to defend himself, but he opened his mouth and found nothing to say. Soo Han-yu took a deep breath and spoke. That's all I have to say. If you still want to keep making a scene, I escaped once, and I can do it again. If I'm willing, I can outlast you all until you die. Her resolute words aged Sue's father visibly. He stepped back a few paces, collapsed into a chair, and finally closed his eyes. You're right. The debt of gratitude is mine. It has nothing to do with you and your mother. Since you're unwilling, then let it go. The farce finally came to an end. Shenlin wanted to say more, but Lin Yu shouted and forced him to leave. As he passed by Soo Han-yu, she heard a soft apology. That apology, Soo Han-yu had waited decades for it, waited 2 lifetimes. Now that she heard it, not a single ripple stirred in her heart. Sue's father and mother wanted to go back, but old Master Song urged them to stay and enjoy the North City for a while. Soo Han-yu stood under the eaves, gazing absently at the birds in the tree. Song Jincheng came to her side and asked curiously, What are you looking at? Meeting Song Jincheng's gaze, Soo Han-yu suddenly smiled. I think this courtyard looks a bit empty. What do you say about planting some flowers? Let's plant morning glories. Song Jincheng seemed suddenly bewitched. stammering, okay, okay. Seeing Song Jinchang like this, Su Hanyu found it even more amusing, leaning close to his eyes and saying, "How long would that be?" The almost explicit words made Song Jinchang immediately understand what she meant. He carefully took Su Hanyu's hand and said seriously, "As long as you're willing. Even a lifetime is fine."